Hey everyone, it's Jump to Fall. Today I was in my kitchen. I thought I'd show you how to make coffee using a French press versus a drip style electric machine, which is what most people are used to. I also posted an article about this on infobarrel.com, which I'll post the link to that article in the text description if you're on YouTube, about why French presses, in my opinion, produce better coffee than drip style machines like that one, which is everybody's familiar with. So if you want to check out that article, I would appreciate it. So first what you do is you grind the amount of coffee you want, and this depends on the type of coffee and what flavor you want, so I can't tell you how much to put in there. I typically grind my coffee right before I pour the water. That's just sort of a fanatical thing. I feel like it changes the flavor. Who knows if it does or not, but I like to do everything quickly so that the coffee doesn't sit for too long ground. So you grind the coffee you want and the amount of coffee you want. You put it in the container without the top on it, and then you pour the amount of water you want in there. Typically, what I do is, if you usually drink a cup of coffee this big, then and you have it full, then pour a little bit, then heat up a little bit more water than that. Sorry, that's my cat trying to get into the closet. Pour a little bit more water, heat up a little bit more water than this to account for evaporation in the kettle or whatever you're heating up. So you pour that in with the coffee, whatever amount of water and coffee that is. And then you'll see that the coffee will float to the top. And if you break it open, as you break it, you'll notice that, now this is a little stint on coffee if you didn't know this. When you break the crust on the coffee and it develops this orangish color, that means that the coffee's fresh, and most likely a good coffee. It depends, but that typically means the coffee's fresh. So if yours doesn't do that when you break that crust on top, then you probably don't have fresh coffee and you want to get fresh coffee and good coffee. But what you want to do is, you don't have to worry about that for French press. What you want to do is you want to just stir the coffee and soak all of the grounds that you've poured in there, and make sure that it's entirely soaked, trying not to ideally mess with this layer on top. But it doesn't actually really provide any flavor, but it's kind of just a nostalgic thing. So you stir that together, make sure all the grounds are soaked, make sure nothing's floating on top. And then you don't have to put this on. It traps the steam. Most people do. You put this piece on, and you push, just push it down until it's just above it. You don't want it to hit the coffee, obviously. And now we let the coffee soak for about 10 to 15 minutes. I typically do 10 to 15 minutes, but that's taking into account this specific coffee I'm using. Depending on the coffee you're using and the strength you want, you might have to change that. For every different coffee I buy, I have to change the time a little bit, so you'll get used to that. But yeah, so you let the coffee sit. I'm gonna let this one sit for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll come back later and show you. Alright, so we're back. It's been about 15 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, like I said. Coffee's still in there. I haven't done anything. So basically what you want to do now is you want to take this off, take the top off, and then take your spoon again and stir gently. You don't want to stir up the stuff on the bottom back up that's sunk, but just stir the top just a little bit to make sure there's nothing on the top. Just stir it around just a little bit. You see the sort of cream layer is still on the top. And what you do is you put this the filter back on, and you slowly push it down through the coffee. You see it broke through there. You just slowly push it down until it stops, until you reach the bottom. I typically don't squish it down any more than this. As soon as you feel a lot of resistance, I would stop, because then you'll end up pushing really fine particles up through the filter, and then you'll end up with grit in the bottom of the cup. So once you feel a lot of resistance, just stop and maybe just push a little bit if you want, and then it's ready. And then you just pour it. You keep the filter on, and then you just pour it right out. And that smells really good. Unfortunately, with a French press, the cream layer doesn't actually come out because you can disrupt it when you push the filter through it, and it's just part of the way this. You end up with a little bit. If you do it really carefully, you can get a lot of it actually in there. But in this case, I didn't. It just depends. So, anyways, that's how you make French press, or at least that's how I do it. So, you know, there's small things that people do different. And again, check out my article on InfoBarrel if you're interested in that. The difference, why this, I talk about why using this method produces coffee that tastes better, in my opinion. But I don't go through how I do it. That's what I did in this video. So anyways, check out my article. Thanks.